everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Friday to you all. I hope that so far you're having a fantastic day. Just a reminder that this week and today we are rounding out the topic of mentally healthy during the holidays. And today, Friday, we are going to specifically be talking about acknowledge your feelings. But before we jump into the episode, again, I want to say hi. How's it going? I hope that you're having a really good day today, whether your day is just beginning, in the middle, or towards the end. I hope that it's a good one. If you are struggling, if you are having a hard day, if you are just going through it, I encourage you to do the 5-minute reset, which is to take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself and allow yourself to reset, reboot, restart your day right then and there. It also gives you an opportunity to take a break from any issues, problems, or burdens that are kind of weighing you down, causing you trouble, really holding you back from doing what you want to do. And also, you can take the time to come up with a resolution for any problems or issues that you're dealing with, even alone or that involve other people. But the 5-minute reset gives you an opportunity to draw a line in the sand and just really separate the part of the day that you want to kind of forget with the part of the day you want to continually look forward to and be excited about. So I encourage you to do that. I also always encourage everyone to come up with a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for, big, small, or medium-sized things. You can be grateful that you finally finished your Christmas shopping. You can be grateful that you get to Christmas shop because maybe gift giving is your love language, like me. You can be grateful for being invited to someone else's house for a yummy, like, Christmas dinner, friends get together kind of situation. And maybe you can be grateful that you did score the ultimate gift for someone and you're super stoked that you got that over and done with. You can be literally grateful for anything. The list is endless, which is fantastic. You always have something you can be grateful for. And last but not least, I encourage you to feel at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of the day, because obviously you came up with a list of at least 4 things you're grateful for. So there's still amazing, wonderful, positive things happening in your life that you can be happy about. And that can really help you push yourself to a positive attitude that will help you get through any negative times that you are currently facing, which will make it a lot easier to go through those crappy times. But I do genuinely hope that you're having a really good day. Just like I said at the top of the show, this week we are finishing up our topic and talking about mentally healthy during the holidays. And today, Friday, we're going to be specifically talking about acknowledge your feelings. So let's jump right in. Let's round out the week by talking about the best way to heal overall, acknowledging how you feel about whatever is going on and learning from those emotions. Acknowledging your feelings is something that can be extremely difficult for people. And this episode isn't going to probably go on for that long, honestly, because it's I feel like it's going to be really easy for me to explain to you why it's important to acknowledge your feelings and how to go about doing that. So just so you know, it's not going to drag on and on, but it is really important, as you might think it's not something that's super important because you're like, oh, it doesn't matter how I feel or how I feel about how I feel. But honestly, the only thing that matters about how you feel is how you are feeling about how you feel. Hopefully that made sense. Because if you don't acknowledge your feelings and you're trying to pretend like they didn't happen or they're not there or they're not valid or worthy of anyone actually caring, then you will just continually build up this wall inside yourself thinking that your feelings and emotions won't matter, and it'll cause you to feel even worse about yourself. And then you won't deal with things and things will pile up. And then all of a sudden, at some point, the bottom will fall out from under you, or you will blow up like a volcano and it'll all come gushing out, when if you just deal with it as it comes along, as opposed to letting it pile up like unwanted mess, then it'll be much easier to deal with, understand, and probably in the future avoid feeling that way, because you've already discovered like what has caused you to do that and how you can avoid feeling those feelings and struggles again in the future. So taking the time to acknowledge that you are feeling a certain way is the first step to healing the parts of your mind and heart that are affected by those emotions, and help you figure out how you got there and what you need to do next to understand why and move on. And I will speak on how to learn from your feelings here shortly, which will be my short list of tips. But I wanted to really highlight acknowledging feelings first, because it's important to understand that if you don't have the courage and strength, which I feel like you really need, the courage and strength first to own up to those feelings and admit to having them, you won't get very far. You just won't, because it's kind of like creating your own blockade. Like, you're just like, okay, I'm not going to admit that these are happening. I'm not going to acknowledge that these feelings did happen. Then how are you supposed to heal and learn from everything? You're really just pretending that nothing happened, and that's the way that you are choosing to heal, which you're not really healing right now. It's all a facade, to be honest. Just so you know, just right from the top, I want to let you know that it's a facade. So if you think you're doing yourself a favor by just sweeping things under the rug, not dealing with them, pretending like it's fine, you're really going to regret that in the future if you haven't already had those regretful moments where things just blew up in your face. So, and I know that this can be really tough for some people to hear, that don't like to deal with their emotions, don't like to talk to them, don't like to talk about emotions, don't like to deal with it at all. I have people like that in my life too. I understand. But honestly, again, there will be no healing. There will be no transformation. There will be no learning unless you admit to it, acknowledge it, and deal with it, and then move on. The quicker that you do that, feelings and emotions take time to get over and, process. That's true. However, the sooner that you get on board with that train, the quicker it'll happen and the easier it'll be, and the less time you'll have to really deal with them, right? Because if you left it all to deal with weeks, months, years later, you're going to have a lot of uncovering to do, digging to do, understanding to do, and you may not even remember what triggered those feelings or caused you to feel that way, which will really suck, in that it's not helpful at all whatsoever. So hopefully you understand why I am harping on this so hard. So you have to be honest with yourself first, or no healing will take place. I am just telling you here, these are facts. Taking the time to reflect on how you were feeling, what may have triggered those feelings, and what you should do about it is important as well. So reflection is a task that may seem boring and unnecessary. I get it. No one thinks it's fun to sit around and reflect. I sometimes think it's fun though, but I think I'm just a nerd that way, and that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, it seems boring and unnecessary, but it's very important to get to the root of how you're feeling, not just surface level. I feel like a lot of times that we think that we're dealing with the feelings that we're dealing with the surface level feelings. So let's say that you are angry about something that someone said or did or presented to you, and you're like, okay, well, I need to deal with this anger. When really, anger is probably the surface emotion, and what's underneath that? Are you jealous? Are you envious? Are you feeling so unworthy of whatever happened? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling intimidated? Are you feeling threatened? What is the actual emotion that's happening on the inside, not just the one that's being shown on the outside? It's very important for you to tackle that, because if you're only dealing with what's happening on the surface, you're never really going to get deep. You're never really going to get anywhere. And I honestly believe that you're never actually going to solve anything, fix anything, heal from anything, learn from truly, really anything. So today, I want to give you 4 tips on how to acknowledge and learn from your feelings. So tip number 1 is to be honest with yourself, at least. Don't cover it up. So again, you have to be honest. You have to actually acknowledge the fact that you are angry. Sure, maybe at first you will only be able to identify the surface level emotion. That's fine. That's a great start. I'm just saying you shouldn't stop there. So just be honest with yourself and be like, okay, I'm angry. Am I feeling anything else? Am I feeling threatened? Am I feeling intimidated? Am I feeling angry because I am sad that my friend is moving away? Am I angry because I feel intimidated by this person trying to step up and take my role, my position, my job, or whatever? Do I feel angry because I feel betrayed and hurt and disappointed? You know what I mean? So you need to take time first to be honest with what you're feeling. Don't cover it up. Don't pretend like it's not happening. And just put it out there and be like, okay, this is the way I'm feeling. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. You don't have to be shameful or feel anything negative towards the way that you're feeling. Everyone is entitled to their feelings and opinions, apparently, which is fine. But I'm just kidding. Yeah, but people are. Yeah, everyone's entitled to their feelings and opinions, and it's okay to feel the way that you're feeling because it's just a natural emotion. Tip number 2 is to seek out triggers and reasons for why you may be feeling this way. What path brought you to where you are? It's important to identify triggers that may have caused you to make a certain choices, react a certain way, have certain feelings, because this is where I feel like you are going to get the most meat from the learning. You're actually going to figure out, okay, I went to a party, they started talking about their parents, that triggered me to all of a sudden be really angry or really sad or really weird that I needed to leave the conversation because you have many negative memories or experiences that you had growing up with your parents, or maybe your parents have recently passed away and that really is just still hurting your heart so much, or maybe you just miss your parents so much and you aren't able to go visit them because of the worldwide pandemic or whatever may be going on. So there's so many reasons, but it's important to identify the trigger, because if you are just walking away from that party feeling sad and you aren't taking the time to really put together like, why all of a sudden am I sad, and you didn't really think about it, then how are you going to, prevent yourself from feeling that way in the future if you don't want to feel sad? How are you going to learn from that and find a way for you to cope when those things come up so you don't feel like you have to exit the party early? And just understand where you are in your feelings and your emotions, and dealing with whatever events have occurred recently or in the past. Doesn't matter how long ago it's happened, it could still greatly affect you. There's definitely points in every single year. It kind of shifts depending upon what's going on in my life, but my mother passed away in 1999, and it's been over 20 years now, but there's still points every single year where it breaks my heart and it makes me sad, and it just all of a sudden comes up. And usually there is a trigger. It just depends on what it is. Sometimes it's Mother's Day, sometimes it's her birthday, sometimes it's the day that she passed away, or sometimes it's just literally moments where I feel so proud as a mom myself that I wish that my mom was here to see how good of a mom I turned out. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important to put those together, because also when you figure out the trigger and the reason for why you're feeling it and what path you took to get there, it can really help you to shift the emotions that you're feeling if you so choose. So for example, my mom, passed away, and there are definitely moments, I feel like a lot more lately, where I am doing really cool, fun mom things, because I am a mom and to my daughter who is almost 13, and there have been a lot of moments where I've been super proud, but I also will all of a sudden be sad because I'm thinking about being a mom, and then I immediately get triggered to miss my mom, and I get sad because my mom's not here to see her granddaughter grow and flourish and become the most awesome, and she's not here to see me be a really good mom because my mom tried her hardest to be a good mom, and she did what she could. So it makes me sad. However, I've had so much practice in understanding that that's a trigger, and the way that I choose to react right after that is to decide that, okay, I am sad. However, I am going to be grateful that I had the time I did with my mom, and I'm going to be happy and feel like, she's probably looking down on me from heaven. It's good that I got the experience I did with her because it has shaped me into a good mom, and, just kind of like resonating on the good points that I had with her, and then, and then moving on with my merry way. I'm not dwelling in the sadness, in the loss and the heartbreak of not having my mom here to, see how my life has developed. But so you see, it'll really help you to understand the triggers and the reasons for why you're feeling the way you are, because it'll help you to be able to heal from it. It'll help you to be able to come up with coping mechanisms. That's really a way for me to cope, and for you to be able to shift your mindset and reactions in the moment of you being triggered. It becomes easier over time. Tip number 3 is to figure out if you can learn to react differently in the future that would serve you better. Exactly what I was talking about. I didn't even realize that I had jumped ahead. But yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You figure out if you can learn to react differently. So in that situation, anytime that I am triggered when I miss my mom, sometimes, especially during the time that is around the day that she passed away, I do get really sad. I do want to cry. So it takes me a little bit longer to shift my mindset and to react differently because, I'm still mourning the loss of my mom, even though it's been over 20 years, and it's because of the way that it happened. I know exactly the reasons why I feel the way I do, why it still lingers. And I think that's okay because it's not like, put a whole halt on my life by any means, which is good, healthy, but I'd still miss her, and I think that's okay. And I think that anyone that's lost their mom, no matter how long it's been, it's okay to be sad, right? So it's important for you, though, to figure out if there's a way for you to react differently. So let's choose a different example. Let's say that you are at a party or get together with your friends or whatever, and they do start talking about something about, maybe they start talking about how amazing their dad is and their mom is and growing up. And then maybe when you were growing up, you did not have good experiences like that. Maybe it was really abusive and volatile, and it's something that you don't ever want to remember. However, them talking about their wonderful childhoods is triggering you to go back to those memories of how terrible it was for you. So the choices that you can make here is that by learning that those things are going to trigger you, and you can figure out a better way for you to react as opposed to, like shutting down or, becoming angry, negative, just don't even want to be there anymore, as opposed to letting those memories flood back into you and cause you some negative feelings. You could learn to react in a way that would be like, and I'm not saying that the first reaction isn't going to happen, that anger, it could creep in, but you could immediately shift it to, okay, I had a bad childhood. It wasn't fun, but I was able to escape it. I was able to grow up and become a really great human being. I was able to not fall into the same traps that they may have, or if I did, I was able to overcome those struggles and become the strong person that I am, and it's okay. And I know that if I decide to have a family, I will do better. It's just all about really having that mindset shift to decide to react differently. And again, I do want to highlight what I just said. You have to decide to react differently. You have to decide to make those changes in your mind, because it's not going to just be made for you, and you have to be cognizant about it. You have to be diligent about it. And the more that you are, the easier that it will be to shift your mindset and react differently and cope better and have that whole situation serve you better than it probably originally did. So tip number 4, and the last tip that I'm going to share with you today, as I said, I told you it's going to be a short one. Don't try to speed through healing. Take your time. It's important to take your time when you are trying to heal from anything that you're going through. And like I already mentioned, if there's something that did happen to you over 20 years ago, like for me of my mom passing, and it still affects you, that's fine. However, because I still will cry maybe once a year. Usually it's down to once a year now. But definitely in years past, I would be crying often. I would say at least quarterly, and I would miss her, and it would really affect me, and it really put a damper on me trying to be a mom to my own child, right? It was really heavy for me. But I've learned how to cope and react better, and to really, focus more on the positive things as opposed to her not being here and how terrible that is and how much she's missing out on. There's nothing that I can do. As blunt as this sounds, there's nothing I can do to change what happened. And that is that. So, I have to move on and do what I can right now with what I have, which is the mindset to focus in on knowing that I am getting stronger, and it's becoming easier for me to not be super sad about it, but to, look back on the great times and use any sort of good experiences and memories, and even the bad ones, and know how to be the best mom ever, right? So I just encourage you to take your time when you're trying to heal. Don't try to speed through it. Sometimes some hurts and pains and struggles and issues take longer to deal with than others. That's fine. You do not have to heal as fast as someone else. You don't have to heal as fast as you did the last time. But also, if you do heal quicker than you expect, you truly do, then that's fine too. It doesn't mean that you're heartless or broken or anything either. Don't feel any guilt or shame in that. It just means that it was easier for you to get over that hump than the last one, and then maybe the one that's coming in the future sometime. So, okay, you guys, well, that's all I have today, talking about acknowledging your feelings. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, my name is Sabrina. I really appreciate you guys listening, downloading, telling your friends. I pray that you continue to do that. You guys are amazing. I hope you have an amazing weekend. And I can't wait to see you back here next week. I hope you come back and listen. I don't think that I have exactly decided what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I can decide like right here, and then you'll know what to come back to. Let's see. I think that next week I am probably going to talk about... Okay, I am either going to talk about cognitive distortions, which would be really interesting and pretty heavy, but still good because we'll be breaking down things like blaming, overgeneralizing, mind reading, personalization, magnifying or minimizing situations. Or I will talk about living in the present. I haven't decided yet. So if you're interested in either one of those topics, or you know someone is, I hope you come back on Monday and listen for a whole new week's topic. But also check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on Instagram, and my email address for any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, and hello to me. So anyway, have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.